Hi there, my name is Jordan Tashner, course developer over at Code4Kids, and today I'm super excited to take you through lesson 3 of our drone course. So let's get started. We start the lesson off in a familiar interface on our quiz module, and the first section is simply, or the first tab rather, is simply a recap of lesson 2. So all your students should be familiar with this already. What you'll notice is there's a teacher prompt on the first section saying what is the most important part of a drone. We learned this last lesson, and the most important part of the drone is always going to be the control board, the thing that controls and communicates all the different components of the drone together. There is a little question at the bottom, what type of batteries do drones use? The answer here, again from the previous lesson, the answer here would be lithium polymer. If the answer is correct, you will get your green highlight over there and you'll get your confetti. Moving on to the next section, why do aerobatic need cameras on their drones? And the answer here was to take photos of the farms and use it for scanning and artificial intelligence. Basically everything we've spoken about already about what aerobotics does as a day-to-day job. And the question at the bottom here is what stabilizes the camera when the drone is in the air? And the answer is the gimbal. You get that from the previous lesson as well. And then we're just going to go through some code snippets to recap what we learned about some of the theory and the mechanics of the drone. So change the color of the camera on your drone and show your partner. This is very simple. Remember, all we need to do is we need to say change drone drop down color to something. And we can click and drag, connect it to the first block, and we can select camera. We can also change the camera lens, but let's change the camera. And in this example, I'm just going to keep it as, actually let's change it to blue, and I'm going to click run, and there we go. You can see your camera has now turned blue. Then finally, for the last section on the first tab, what we're going to do now is we're going to tilt your drone forward, because remember last lesson we learned about pitching forward and backwards and left and right. And quite simply what we need to do is we need to disable 2 of the rotors. I'm not going to do this now, but they need to figure out which rotors to disable. And of course, if the front 2 are disabled, then the rotor will lean forward. So they would click on this drop down, click disable, and they would run. Okay, onto the first tab of the new lesson. So now we're done with recapping, and now we're going to be learning a lot more about how the drone sort of flies and the dynamics inside the in the air for the drone. So flying a drone, which parts of the drone determine the direction in which a drone flies? Okay, that has to do with the rotors. So we encourage you as a class to watch this video as a class. If not, that's okay, and I'll show you why it's okay now. Once you've watched the video, we can go to the second section where we start answering the questions based on the video. What is the name of the force that allows a drone to lift off the ground? Okay, and the name of this is the thrust force, and your students will get this from the video. And again, if you cannot watch the video as a class, no problem. All you have to do is click the expand text button, and we can see a small snippet taken directly from the video, the dialogue that Josh has said over here, one of the guys inside the video. So Josh says there's a thrust force that the propellers generate by moving air downwards. Okay, the answer's right there. The answer's thrust force. On to section 3, hovering around. How does a drone hover? Again, answers in expand text, but we encourage you, if you have watched the video, do not click the button that says expand text, because that just gives you the answer immediately. But how does a drone hover? All rotors must spin at the same speed. The thrust force must equal the gravity force, and this answer is this one over here. On to section 4, spinning and yaw. How does the drone yaw? The answer is this bottom one. It's when the 2 propellers that are on a diagonal, okay, so the ones that are across, when both of those change direction and speed, the drone will then spin. So that is the answer. And on to section 6, the source of the thrust. What part of the drone do you think gives the drone a thrust force? You can ask this as a class, but bonus, what changes in each rotor supplied by the battery to make a drone pitch, roll, and yaw? And the answer here is actually the voltage from the battery. That's just a bit of a bonus one. And then the last section is just a summary of what we learned about how the drone can move in certain directions. And I think this is a really nice way of just summarizing and making your students understand. But we have throttle, move down and move up, move forward, move backwards, bend left, bend right, etc., etc. Now onto the third tab, pitch, roll, and yaw. Now we're going to be looking at code snippets and seeing exactly how the drone can move around in the actual app itself. So for this first section over here, we just want to pitch the drone in any direction and just name the drone in which direction it is pitching. So to do that, we can actually just disable one of the rotors. Okay, so we disabled the front left rotor. So let's say it is pitching back right is the direction. So what we can do is we can say change the drone name now, and I said back right, and we can click run, and now we have named it back right, and that's all you need to do for the first section. Next, onto the second section of tab 3, pitch your drone forwards. We actually did that in the recap. Okay, color the rotors that are causing your drone to pitch forwards in the same color. That's just a bit of an added thing now. So now we actually have to, after making it pitch forward, we need to change the two rotors. So let's say, for example, if it's rotor A and rotor C, we're going to change the color of the rotors that change. We can also change the color of the blades if we want. Finally, for the third section, let's look at yawing left and right. Okay, this is a bit of a newer one. To do this, all we need to do is slow down rotor A and rotor B, for example, and you'll see that it simply starts yawing. We just need to name the direction, and we need to color the rotors causing your drone to yaw sideways in the same color. Okay, so basically the ones that have stopped or have slowed down completely, those are the ones we need to change. Okay, let's go on to flying about, which is now the first tab that we are familiar with the open world app, part of the drone course. And the first objective is to simply find and land on the goal tile, and your students will have to look around to find it. And there's also a challenge to get to the goal tile with at most 6 blocks. Okay, so that's a bit of a newer thing. So we can check as a teacher, you can walk around and you can also check that your students have only used 6 blocks. But again, you can click and drag, you can move, and we can spin. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I haven't done this in a while, but I'm pretty sure that it's to the left down there. Let's move again, 3, and it should pop up. Let's just run that, see how far the drone gets. Okay, we need to go a little bit further. Let's change angle again. Let's move 1, change 1. Let's move, and there's the goal tile, and I'm going to have to land on there. And you remember, to land, we just simply put that at the end like that. And finally, for the very last tab, this may take your students quite a while. We have an open field on the right hand side, and we also have some loops. Okay, but the first objective is to simply draw a hexagonal circle using your knowledge of yaw and spin. So a hexagonal circle is going to be, if you look at my cursor, it's going to be coloring that tile, that tile, that tile, that tile, that tile. And to do that, we move 1 forward, then left, then move 1 forward, then left, move 1 forward, then left. And we follow that pattern. So what we can do is we can actually do that, and we can actually copy paste these. I have accidentally clicked already. Let's just reset. So move 1. Let's put it all down first. Then 60. Then move 1. Then left 60 degrees. Move 1. Then left 60 degrees. And let's see how far that gets us. And you'll see it's going to start to draw that pattern, that circle that we need. Okay, we actually need to move once again forward. Let's do this properly. Okay, and once again, spin, and then move again. So we're going to spin, move, and there's our circle. The next objective is do the same thing with at most 10 blocks. Okay, so if you do it all in one go, we want to do it in at most 10 blocks. And finally, we have a challenge, draw your circle with at most 4 blocks, hence try using the loops. Okay, so this is a bit more advanced. Let's just reset, make sure the drone starts at the beginning, and let's go through how to do this. This is quite interesting. So what we can do is we know that the pattern is move drone forwards by 1 and move left by 60, but we need to repeat that a total of, if we start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you want to go back to the beginning. So let's do that. And to do that, we take the loop and we put this all inside like this, and we're going to change it to 6 times. because that's the total number, and that's actually 4 blocks, and that's at most 4. So we can click run, and you can see the drone is doing its job because it's in a loop, and there we go. And that is completing the challenge. And that's it for lesson 3. We really hope you enjoyed, and be sure to check out our final lesson in the drone course.